We have to recognize it for what it is. The world order is changing. China is a rising power. It is seen through the prism of fear by a lot of Americans as opposed to an opportunity factor. The future will really be determined by how America and Americans respond to the shifting world order. And that has a lot to do with our leaders. We're still taking a journey together that's now a little over 40 years old. There are elements of the relationship that are competitive, that are some that are collaborative, and I think for the foreseeable future we'll have a combination of both. But the truth of the relationship is that we're married in terms of economic integration, in terms of regional cooperation, not just in the Asia-Pacific region, but also beyond. And divorce isn't an option. We have to, at some level, make the relationship work. And that will mean real presidential leadership around a 21st century vision that speaks to a deep strategic dialogue that begins to kind of address the issues that only the United States and China, as the two largest economies in the world, two of the greatest militaries on Earth, the two largest consumers of electricity, and the two greatest emitters of CO2 greenhouse gases, will have to at least sit down and deal with. Well, when you have a challenging relationship like we do with the United States and China, that would suggest that during a presidential campaign, it's a perfect opening to actually have a conversation about how to handle it going forward. In other words, what we should be doing with China as opposed to what you do to China. I've found that in a political context, it's a whole lot easier to say what you're going to do to China. That always results in an instant applause line, as opposed to what you're going to do with China, which presupposes that you've actually thought through the relationship and have a vision or a game plan going forward, which this country desperately needs. So some time has been lost because we didn't have much of a conversation at all this last presidential election cycle. And it means that we're treading water in a sense. And for the two largest powers of the world, economically and militarily, to be treading water and not engaging, particularly on the issues that divide us, that's when you should be engaging even more, would suggest that the world is less well served than it would be otherwise if we had some master plan or vision for the bilateral relationship. Well, I'm encouraged by the younger generation in the United States, where students are enrolling in Chinese language classes. They're interested in the subject matter far more so than my generation, or certainly my parents' generation, where that opportunity didn't even exist. And all the while, on the Chinese side, you've had English taught in many of their schools. You have their senior government officials and party leaders who have watched the United States, who have studied our form of government, our language, to the point where today you have many in higher office there who are very astute observers of the United States. And I try to find an American corollary, at least in Congress or in the executive branch, and sometimes I come up short. I'm encouraged by where the younger generation is going. I think we will have the needed understanding and knowledge of China over the longer term, but shorter term, I think we're in a bit of a gap period right now where they may understand us better than we understand them.